Check this video out with 19 Keys and Billy Carson as he explained dimensions and the role that they play in our reality. Let's go ahead and jump into this.
Well, people in the third dimension, we're in the third dimension, what we tend to not understand is that time really doesn't exist. Clocks exist. Time doesn't exist.
Right.
And like you said, we've been given this functional arrow of time, which puts us in one specific direction so that we can organize our thoughts and our days and our years and weeks and what we're going to do and where we're going to meet up with somebody and everything else. So we have this ability to coordinate and collaborate with each other like how we're here today at this specific time. However, if you understand that time is also an illusion, it's something that you can use as a tool, but if you also understand that it's an illusion, then you can actually master time and you can maximize what you're doing on this planet. Because if you go any high, in all the higher dimensions, you know, we're in the third, fourth, fifth.
See, to me, it's a lot of, to me, time is a spell, okay? And the reason I say that is because it begins the aging process for us, because, we know that the tongue is a powerful thing, right? And we speak things into existence with the tongue, okay? And, for us to believe in time, we start to believe that because time exists, we age as time progresses, right? And so because we believe it and we think it, we start to act toward that and we begin to manifest that, all right? Which is why, we begin to age. So for me, I most definitely look at time as being an illusion and most importantly being a spell.
Six and all the way up.
For the
Time
layman that don't understand what being in the third dimension means, can you give us a breakdown?
Okay, sure. So if you draw a line on a piece of paper, that's the first dimension. If you then connect those lines and create a house on a piece of paper, that's a two-dimensional structure, or you can move it into a computer. Anything you see in a computer that looks 3D is actually 2D. Right? So, and because we're in the third, we can see down into 2D, we can see all the way down obviously into 1D, and we can manipulate those dimensions from our higher selves. Now,
let's think about what he said. As he says that, man, what I think about is a video game. Think about it. A video game is like a dimension, okay? And, when you think about it, we're looking down into that dimension. They don't know we're there. We're manipulating them by moving them around, with a joystick or whatever the case may be, okay? And, that's kind of what I see as he says what he says. The only difference is that they have not yet begun to become conscious, but there's no telling, if they ever will become conscious or not, to the point where they start to become aware of themselves and start to think for themselves as well, right? And so you can also take that ideology, right, and start to look at it like, well, they will also look at it like whoever would have created the game would then be their God as well, man. This is really deep, bro.
Now, there are beings in fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensions. There's people above us. Now, because of that, they see us and they recognize the past, present, and future operating all at the same time. Everything's happening at once.
Right.
There is no separation between the past, present, and the future. The arrow doesn't exist. Because they're higher than us, they can look down into the third and they can see into what we're doing. So
who are before?
You see what I'm saying? That's why I say it's like a video game.
Hey, we got to unpack a little bit. We got to unpack.
Okay.
It's high level, but I want to make sure that the people can follow along with it.
Yeah.
So, talking about third dimension, right? It say ants are not third dimensional beings, right? Because they can't see upward, right? They're not horizontal, you understand me? They exist on a plane where they're looking forward, right? So when you're moving about the rest of the world that is higher up to them, they have no access to that, no perspective on that whatsoever. You understand me? For them, everything is straight and in front of them. For human beings, we have the ability to look upward, to look inward, to look outward, to look around, right? So therefore, we're connected into different angles, different perspectives, and different dimensions. You understand me? And then what I wanted to get with next, so let's say we got the third dimension, right? Now, we're talking about the fourth dimension, right? What is the fourth dimension?
The fourth dimension is something called a tesseract. And if you go into the ancient text, it's Metatron's cube. Meta, M-E-T-A, meta, obviously,
meta.
The metaverse, right? They got that from Metatron's cube.
And see, the thing about Metatron's cube is that the universe exists inside Metatron's cube. That's a little bit deeper, but I'm gonna cut into that for y'all most definitely.
It's a fourth dimensional substructure. Now, this fourth dimension is really something called a quasi-crystal. And this quasi-crystal in the fourth dimension, it casts a shadow. And the shadow that it casts, it creates the realm that we're living in here. We're living in a shadow of a higher dimension. That shadow creates a third dimension. It actually creates a fractal of it, creates this fractal holographic matrix that we're actually maneuvering in the third dimension right now.
So would the fourth dimension be considered a dimension of time?
You can address a fourth dimension of time like Albert Einstein was saying if you're just looking at a third plus a fourth being the arrow. But when you actually move up into another dimension, we now know in quantum physics that there is actually a fourth dimension. So all dimensions are in 90-degree angles of each other. And according to quantum theory right now, we're really anticipating that there's at least 11 dimensions, or otherwise the universe would collapse. So
now, you see, for me, that's kind of where I would differ at because of my studies. You know, from what I've read in my research, I was always taught that dimensions intertwine with one another. That way you can never tell where they begin or they end it, right? So he's saying that they're in 90-degree angles of each other. Now, I've heard this in different ways from many different people. Some people actually believe that they're stacked up on top of each other, but it's most definitely some truth in the way he's saying, though.
Is truly a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, all the way up, not just the arrow of time. That's just something extra. They try to make it make sense back then by saying the fourth dimension is time, but time is actually not a dimension at all.
So now that's a very interesting, because it's a lot that I'm sure that everybody's like, all right, I thought I was smart, and then I tried to keep up, and then I got left behind.
Right.
You understand me? And what I want to bring people up to speed. You understand me? And the ideas in correlation to the analogy of how we're moving as a collective human species, specifically with technology, right?
Yeah.
Because I think it can be connected to, cellular technology, right? Going from 3G to 4G. And, going from 3G to 4G to 5G, which allows us to be able to do different things that we normally weren't able to do that weren't possible, right? Let's say you got 3G phones, it's hell, you make better, faster calls, you understand me, connected. Then you get to 4G and you're talking about now applications and streaming, right? And Wi-Fi, right? Being able to connect within systems and the Internet of Things. And then 5G allowing completely new systems of possibility. And this was where I think a lot of people missed the point in 2020 where everybody was going through the craze of whether 5G was killing them or not. It was more so, what was 5G going to do, right? So the NFTs and the Web3, right? And you're talking about, AR, VR, spatial reality, all these different things are not possible unless you have 5G being in connection. So it was representing a new world being produced outward. And it wasn't just an accident that NFTs came after the pandemic and this technology came after. There was something happening at that same point in time that for me, it was entering into a new phase of the world, a new dimension, a new speed, right? And that speed, can be known as time, if you will. And a lot of people, without that ability to process at a high level, right? Like you got bandwidth, you got landline speed, you got Wi-Fi speed, you got 5G speed, you get left behind. So everything seems that it's moving fast, but that's only because you're not moving as fast.
Right.
Everything stands still when you're moving at the same speed. You understand me? And so what I've always tried to do is keep people up to speed where we at in the dimension that we're currently in, or a little bit above, so you can be ahead of your time as a visionary. Because the fastest speed is the mind. You understand me? Being able to travel in your thought, right? That can take you into time, that can take you ahead of time, if you will. But the ideas of time itself, I love the concept that it being an illusion, because, even the era where time is connected to language, right? That I wrote in my book about how when we speak in the English language, it's a very future tense reference, right? So we're always referencing the future as we speak. I will be there, I'm going to do this. And we have so many different phrases within the language. We're always pushing ourselves, not connecting to the present, but at a later point in day and time.
Right.
You understand me? And I think that learning to be present connects us to the power that we have in control over.
Yeah.
And then once you have that power, then you know how to create seeds that can control the rest of the time.
Exactly. You know what, man? See, the problem with society is that they have yet to really understand that they create their own reality, all right? And because of that, you know, you have to understand that it's other beings around us, man, that actually know how powerful we are and how we actually manifest reality. So they put things like this in front of our face, especially time, man. Okay, time is one of the strongest things that they could have done to us, because as I said, it being a spell could ultimately, you know, put us into a position that we will begin to perish. All right. And so with that being said, man, I just want to leave you guys as I can. I want you guys to always be aware, because to be aware is to be alive. And as always, peace, family. Peace meaning positive energy always creates elevation. Ashay.